Alright, my wizard makes his attacks.
Alright, how much damage did you do?
That's going to be 65 piercing and 419 poison.
How much?
That's going to be a total of 484 points of damage.
In one round?
Yeah.
You're going to have to tell me how you did that.
Well, we're going to break it down in this edition of D&D Killer Combos for 5e.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Maybe it's your first time visiting Ted's Basement. It's a place where I like to discuss news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to tune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're going to do another killer combo, but before we do, I want to thank our sponsor for this video and get that out of the way.
You want to talk about killer combos? What about Nerdarchy? That's right. The sponsor for this video is Nord Games, and they've given us a promo code, Nerdarchy20. Link is going to be down in the description, as well as that promo code that you can head right over to their store and check out all of the awesome products they have, whether you're looking for gaming books, whether you're looking for decks to enhance your gaming material. They've got loot decks, they've got random encounters, they've got critical hit, critical fumble decks. The amazing products over at Nord Games are awesome. Highly recommend you check it out. Link is going to be down in that description, and that promo code is Nerdarchy20.
With that, let's jump into our killer combos. And this time, we're going to take an object, an item from the equipment. It's not even a magic item, and we're going to combine it with a wizard spell. Now, it's a rather high-level wizard spell. 5th level.
So we're not talking about diving in for a killer combo right at level 1. We are going to have to wait a little bit to make this work. But oh my word, as you saw from the beginning, all of that was actually a little bit less than the average damage for all involved. It might be a little bit costly, but when you want to shell out some high damage for a high level campaign for that boss fight, here's the way to go.
All right, so for the first part of our combination is we're using a high-level spell we discussed, and that is Animate Object.
All right, so we're talking about a 5th level spell, as Dave says. Its range or area is 120 feet, concentration up to a minute, so we're using this for more than a round. Attack and save is technically none. It's all on what you animate. Casting time is an action, verbal, somatic. As your components, it is transmutation, and you create objects come to life at your command. Choose up to 10 non-magical objects within range that are not being worn or carried. Medium targets count as 2 objects, large targets count as 4 objects, huge count as 8. You can't animate any objects larger than huge. Each target animates and becomes a creature under your control until the spell ends or until reduced to 0 hit points. As a bonus action, you can mentally command any creature you made with the spell if the creature was within 500 feet of you. If you control multiple creatures, you can command them all at the same time, issuing the same command to each one. You decide what action the creature will take and where it will move during its next turn, or you can issue a general command such as guard a particular chamber or corridor. If you issue no commands, the creature only defends itself against hostile creatures. Once given an order, the creature continues to follow it until its task is complete. So there's different AC, strength, hit points based on the size, as well as, how much damage it does.
But we don't care about any of that. We only need to worry about one thing, and that's animating either daggers or knives. And, each one of them is going to do a die 4 plus 4 points of damage.
Per attack.
And you can get up to 10 of them.
Yes.
Now, depending on how you interpret the rule here, it says it can't be worn or held by, held, right? Doesn't specifically say by who. Now, in your game, the Bard Lucky would often open his coat and animate a bunch of tiny knives that would fly out.
Yes.
Now, as per law, maybe you can't do that. But there's nothing that says you couldn't have a bag of daggers or knives that are sheathed or a sack of them and throw them out on the ground and then use them if your DM is going to be that specific.
I think the idea is, you can't target the knives on somebody else so that they lose their gear. I think, rules as interpreted, if it's on your person and you're animating it, you are giving permission to yourself to allow this to happen. And that is how I ruled it. I have to say, just as per the damage capacity of that spell, Lucky, he did a crap ton of damage with that spell over multiple rounds. Just like, all right, I command them to attack, and they just keep attacking, and it's like, dear God, that's a lot of damage.
So maximum damage 1 round is 90 points. That's not even close to what we did, right?
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to add in poison, right? We're going to keep our blades sheathed in poison so that we can use them when we need them. There are only 2 types of poison that we can use to make this work. It has to be a contact poison, or it has to be an injury-based poison. Ye old basic poison from the player's handbook will not work. One, it does crappy damage anyway, but the fact that it only lasts for a minute, then it dries and it's no good. So for that, we're going to have to go into the DMG and some other places to get better poisons. But we can, and it gets quite pricey. But if you're willing to spend the cashola, for the low price of about 20 grand in gold pieces, you can do that massive amount of damage that you were discussing.
So whether you want to spend the low cost of 200 gold pieces per dose for drow poison, 1,200 gold pieces per dose for wyvern poison, however you want to pronounce it, or for the massive 2,000 gold piece for purple worm venom per dose, you can go into all of that. Now, that massive damage that I talked about, over 400 points of poison damage, can easily be done if you put that purple worm venom inside your dagger sheaths, click them in so that the next time you issue all of those attacks, yes, it is 20,000 gold, as Dave says, but you can really slam it home because the poison's going to stay on the blade until it successfully delivers that attack.
Yes, it's really important to point out the rules for poison contact. Contact poison can be smeared on an object and remains potent until it is touched or washed off. A creature that touches a contact poison is exposed. The skin suffers its effects, so stabbing them would probably work fairly well. Then injury poison. Injury poison can be applied to weapons, ammunition, trap components, and other objects that deal piercing or slashing damage and remain potent until delivered through wound or washed off. A creature that takes piercing or slashing damage from an object coated with the poison is exposed to the effect. So therefore, that's why they have to be either contact or injury. And then, like we said, we have all these different ones that work. Now, the contact poisons tend to be non-lethal. They're going to be knockout poisons. And we actually get 2 different versions of that. For contact, we have carrion crawler mucus, which is, 200 gold pieces for a dose of that. But it could definitely take someone out of the fight. Oil of Taggart is another one that has a contact poison for 400 gold for a dose. And that one actually leaves them poisoned for 24 hours with the condition if they do regain consciousness. Drow poison's nice because if you hit them with it, they have the poison condition. And then if they actually fail by 5 or more, they go unconscious. That's one of our injury ones for 200, like you said. If you're looking to just inhibit them, as opposed to killing them, with 10 daggers, they're probably going to fail at least one of those saving throws. And then the chances of failing by 5 or more is also greatly increased.
This is one of those things that also kind of could fall into our, what do I spend my money on? Now, if you do play up what's in the DMG, there are a lot of places that poisons are considered illegal, and you might have to, go to some shady black market or what have you. But isn't that half the fun in these games? Going into seedy places to go unload all of this money. And, the adventures start there. But if you're like myself and you've got, tens of thousands of gold and you've got nothing to do with it, this is a great way that you can be able to up your ante, to be able to, shell out some massive damage every once in a while. And you've got, lots of different things. In earlier editions of the game, rules for poisons were much, much harder. There were rules that, you could easily poison yourself. Not so much in 5th edition. Feel free to play up however you like these rules. But we just thought it was awesome to combine, this cool element of the game with this really fun spell and mechanic to just be able to yep, I just did, hundreds of points of damage over the course of 1 round.
Yeah, you could definitely rock it that way. And also, there's varying degrees too, right? Serpent poison is only going to do 3d6 damage and only costs 200 a dose, which is 2,000, which is a lot more affordable. Wolverine's poison is going to be 1,200 a dose and does 7d6 damage per dose. And then you have the purple worm poison, which is 2,000 per dose and does significantly
12,
more.
12 die 6 points of damage, which means, if you're putting this on all of them, it's 20,000 gold, but you're doing 120 die 6. Who doesn't want to roll 120 die 6?
That's a lot of potential damage. Now, there's a couple of things to point out. One, it's poison damage. Poison is probably most easily the most resistant type of damage in the game. Resistant, not such a big deal. You're still going to do a lot of damage. Immunity, which is there's also quite a few creatures that are immune to poison. That's a bigger problem. You spent 20 grand to do this mega punch on the big bad, and then all of a sudden that's when you discover that he's immune. Do your research first, people.
Yes, yeah, you're talking about your constructs, your demon lords, a
lot of your
undead, anything that produces its own poison. Don't even try, because it's like, I don't care about that. So do your research, make sure you do it, but it's a lot of fun, and I love those gawking moments when the DM's like, you did what?
So it's a lot of fun. And, it could be an adventure all in itself to try and get the poisons. Might require a bunch of role-playing. Maybe your DM just gives you carte blanche on spending gold. And like Ted said, this is a great opportunity and teachable moment for us as players and DMs when your DM does that and you all of a sudden you do, 400, 500, 600 points of damage in one round of combat because, they weren't expecting that.
Now, I will say that, when it comes to, the serpent, the wyvern, or the purple worm, these poisons can actually be extracted from an unconscious or killed creature. So you don't necessarily have to be shelling out the gold if your DM is allowing you to go out and hunt said creatures, or maybe you've encountered them and you're like, you know what? There's going to be doses in there. Maybe your DM says, all right, there's 1 to 3 doses in the incapacitated creature, and you can attempt to make so many rolls, and for each poisoner's kit success check that you make, you can be able to extract that many doses. That could be a fun thing to do. Maybe this is something that your DM allows you to do during downtime. I'm a 15th level character. Hunting wyverns is something that I can do solo. Yeah, downtime activity. Let's see how you do. You can have fun there. High level campaign. Let's go see if we can find an area where purple worms are present. It's not a downtime activity in my opinion because these things are potent. But you can have some fun with it. Be like,
well,
right.
What if you just go down to the venom farm and you go milk? You milk your own venomous creature. Instead of picking pumpkins, you milk venom from giant serpents, wyverns, purple worms, and other assorted nasties.
That could be a whole place in and of itself. Maybe there's a purple worm that is held captive somewhere that somebody is finding a way to keep it stationary, feeding it to keep it alive, but is constantly extracting, if you can sell it for 2,000 gold, maybe that's worth it to keep it there. And, a couple times a day, they're out there like, all right, let me see what I can get out of this thing.
This is also a nasty trap you can spring on your players or a combat tactic to use against them as well as the DM. Totally legit. But I'm also thinking about, what about the wizard with their familiar and they have an imp and they're just milking their imp for venom, and the imp is like, this is so degrading.
But however you choose to use this killer combo, it's a lot of fun, useful in a lot of different ways. Is this something you've already done? Is this something that, you're now inspired to do? Let us know down in the comments below.
On your way down there, I would like to invite you to join Nerdarchy, the adventuring party, over on Patreon. What can they expect over there, Ted?
We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that both players and DMs alike can drop right into their game.
But that's not all. We do monthly giveaways and our patrons are automatically entered.
We do weekly hangouts with our patrons and more.
So quest on down to the description. Join the Nerdarchy adventuring party on Patreon. And until next time,
stay nerdy.